as you're growing up, you develop coping skills to cope with the hardship of living in a family. And then these coping skills, they're not always healthy. And so then you take these coping skills and you bring them out into the world. And then if you imagine everyone with a giant backpack, baggage that they have, the more garbage that they go through, the more they put into that backpack, and they end up bumping into each other. And then this is where people are stepping over bounds, not always on purpose. Maybe they don't know any other way. So I am trying to come at it with the fact, or with the idea, that they have the intention for the best, but they don't necessarily know how to maybe respect boundaries, or they don't really know how to talk to people with respect and openness and honesty. Coming from that point of view actually can help you deal with toxic people. They probably don't know, this got them somewhere. They probably don't know how to get what they want in a respectful way. So they're used to talking to you in a condescending way. Maybe their parents were very condescending, so that they grow up very condescending. And it's like they never really learned another way. Maybe their parents didn't have boundaries or something to that effect, and then they go forward and then they don't have boundaries, so they're used to stepping over yours, they're used to calling you names, speaking condescending. Is understand that they may not be doing this on purpose. The first thing that you have to do is learn how to control your own emotions. This person starts yapping, maybe stepping over some bounds, talking condescendingly, maybe being critical or spitting out some criticizing words. So then here's you, and then you start defending yourself with logic, and you start defending yourself against this person, and now your emotions are up and their emotions are up, and before you know it, now you're fighting. And maybe that this is a pattern that constantly happens between you and this person. Take a deep breath. Take a step back and breathe. Focus only on your breath. When you're anxious and you're angry and all that, you tense up, so you're not taking deep breaths. And when you're not taking deep breaths, your brain's not functioning as well. So then you fall out of the logic and into the emotional. Take a step back and take some deep breaths so that you can get some oxygen to your brain. When the airplane is crashing, put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and then help other people, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. Bring the focus, the attention, the energy back to yourself and say, what am I thinking? What am I feeling, both physically and emotionally? And then why you're reacting the way that you react. You have a stimulus, and then you have a reaction. And in between that, you have this very small moment where when you choose your response, that is freedom. When you take that deep breath, that little moment actually gets a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually your freedom, you have so much freedom because you don't have to respond the way that you typically respond. You get to react the way that you want to react. And the more mindful and observant you are about what's going on with you, and giving yourself the power that, hey, I don't have to jump down their throat just because they're jumping down mine. Once you get that, then you get to choose your response, and now you have freedom. So obviously, you set boundaries. You set more boundaries. Verbally setting boundaries. You're not just setting a boundary for them, but you're setting a boundary for yourself. So let's say that this is how you typically react to this person, or this is typically the emotion that's evoked in you, something like that. So let's say we're going to set a boundary where I'm just not going to listen because I know Carol talks this way all the time. And you know what? I'm not going to, that's just how she is. That's who she is and how she was raised or whatever. That's her stuff. My boundary is that I'm not going to react to it. You know what to expect with Carol. So why do you keep responding the same way? You can say, I'm going to respond differently because I know what to expect. I know she's going to act this way. If someone is so toxic in your life, you might have to cut them out. It's like an old friend that you barely talk to, but every time you talk to, they're like energy vampire. They're always sucking the energy out of you. Or if it's your mom or dad. Now, that's a harder one, obviously, but let's say Carol's just a friend that you keep going to see, or maybe Carol's a sister that you keep going to see. Whoever, sorry for anyone named Carol that might be watching this. I just picked a name randomly as I was talking. So anyway, sorry to drag you into this. And it sucks. It does. And sometimes you have to do it. I know people who've had to cut out their parents just because of how toxic their parents were. And it's sad, right? And many times these parents suffer from some sort of mental illness. If you are at work and you're dealing with a narcissistic boss, if you're dealing with a coworker, now it comes down to communication. There's something called I statements, like I feel this when you do that. Yes, that's part of it, but I statements are also you observe the facts. Hey, Carol, I've noticed that you come in here and you say things to me, and it really hurts my feelings when you say it that way. You statements are, you make me feel this way, and you constantly do this, and that upsets me, and there's a different tone to the you statement. So an I statement is more of like, here are the facts. I'm not judging, I'm just observing. So the two books that I highly recommend if this is stuff that's happening, the first one, it's called Nonviolent Communication. Now, communication cannot technically be violent because violence is a physical aggression towards someone else. However, you get the point of the book, Nonviolent Communication. But one that is more professional is Crucial Conversations, and that's more of like how to speak at work and how to talk to Carol or your boss. Don't try and control their reaction. And this is where sometimes setting a boundary, we're trying not to hurt the other person because we know how it feels to be hurt. So we don't want to hurt them or we don't want to ruin a relationship. But if they continuously step over the boundary, guess who's actually ruining the relationship? Let go of results. Just let go of them. I don't know how this person's going to react unless they're getting extremely violent or physically abusive. At that point, obviously call the authorities. But other than that, it's not really your problem. You set that boundary. You give them, you put the ball in their court. Whatever they do with it, they do with it. They get to do whatever they want to do. That is out of my control. And I need to just let go of that. So let go of the results when you set a boundary with Carol. Until next time, my friends.